In 10 minutes, there's a roundup of the day's events in the region in a bank holiday edition of Look North. First, at 6:05, the news. 5:05, I beg your pardon, the news.
The outbreak of Legionnaire's disease in Staffordshire. The health minister says he expects the government to announce an inquiry. Another woman died overnight from the disease, bringing the total number of deaths to 30. 70 more people are being treated. Health Minister Kenneth Clarke says there will be a statement in the Commons tomorrow, and he thinks government guidelines for the prevention of the disease may have to be reviewed.
Health officials in Staffordshire say they'd welcome any form of inquiry into the outbreak, which is believed to have its source in the hospital's air conditioning. Their recommendation is for an investigation headed by the chairman of the West Midlands Regional Health Authority.
It's absolutely essential that everybody, the world in general, not just in this country, learns in great detail exactly what happened in this particular outbreak.
70 people are still being treated. A further 12,000 are thought to have visited Stafford District General during the time the disease was undetected. There's now the very real fear the public will shun a £23 million hospital.
They have waited for this hospital for many, many years. Our main hospital, the Staffordshire General Infirmary, was built in 1762. If the source of the outbreak is here, we have stopped it. Please come and undertake your normal business here as usual.
The outpatients department is the area which was thought to have been most affected, though it'll reopen tomorrow. But admissions are being restricted, allowing medical staff to attend to existing patients.
There's speculation that there's to be a major shake-up in the running of MI5, Britain's counterintelligence agency. The Prime Minister is expected to make a common statement this week. A review was set up after Michael Bettany, an MI5 officer, was jailed last year for trying to sell secrets to the Russians. The report from Lord Bridge, the chairman of the Security Commission, is thought to have looked closely at recruitment and vetting procedures. President Reagan, on his European tour, has arrived in Spain to a mixed welcome after nationwide protests against his policies. Yesterday's demonstrations by up to 1 million people were directed against his new trade embargo on Nicaragua and against NATO. Today, a massive security operation ensured an orderly reception for the Reagans at Madrid airport.
President Reagan might have hoped that after all the problems of Bitburg and Bonn, his arrival in Spain might herald a less controversial phase to his European tour. The greetings at Madrid's airport from King Juan Carlos and Queen Sofia, though formal, were cordial enough. But as the two heads of state inspected the guard of honor, both men were aware that Mr. Reagan's visit to Spain, his first as president, has sparked off widespread anti-American protests. The 14,000 US military personnel in Spain, the country's membership of NATO, and the president's Nicaraguan trade embargo are the reasons for America's current unpopularity with many Spaniards. Prime Minister Felipe González will be raising all three issues with Mr. Reagan during talks this evening and tomorrow. From the airport, the President and Mrs. Reagan drove to the Pardo Palace, once the home of General Franco, now used for visiting VIPs. Tonight they'll attend a private dinner party given by the Spanish royal family.
This morning, just before President Reagan left Germany, 5,000 young people gathered at Hambach Castle in the Rhineland to say goodbye to him. Speaking to his youthful audience, Reagan took up the same theme he'd put to their elders last night in Bonn, the Star Wars defense project. Someday, he told them, their children might be protected by a system called mutual assured survival. An American military helicopter with 17 people on board has crashed into the sea off the Japanese coast. A big air and sea search has failed to find any survivors. The helicopter was on its way from Iwakuni, U.S. Marine Base, to Okinawa. And Moscow says a group of high-ranking Soviet Air Force officers were killed, presumably in an air crash last Friday. The officers, based in the western USSR, included 2 Air Force generals. The American ambassador to Moscow won't be attending the Soviet VE Day celebrations on Thursday. The United States Embassy said today that the shooting in March of the American liaison officer, Major Arthur Nicholson, by a Russian sentry in East Germany was still unresolved. The Soviets said Major Nicholson was spying in a restricted area, but the United States has denied this. At home, the Labour leader Neil Kinnock has been at a May Day rally in Wigan, where he criticised the government for repeating what he called the economic follies of the 30s.
Mrs. Thatcher, I don't believe that Mrs. Thatcher is a fascist. I don't think that her government is fascist. What I'm saying is that in the way that they show complacency, that they show contempt for millions of people in this country, they are allowing such a contagion of despair and loss of confidence and fear and loneliness and isolation and idleness to develop as to repeat all of the disastrous follies of those interwar years.
Well, after 7 days in orbit, the American space shuttle Challenger is due to land in Southern California just about now. And in fact, we're getting these pictures live from Edwards Air Force Base. Now, there she comes, the end of a trip for the 7 astronauts and the small menagerie of rats and monkeys that they took with them. And in spite of early technical problems, the astronauts managed to complete nearly all the planned scientific experiments, and NASA says the flight's been an outstanding success.
Touchdown on main gear.
Smooth landing there for Challenger pilot Fred Gregory. Well, now, 2,700 runners from all over the United Kingdom and the Irish Republic have taken part in a marathon in Belfast, despite earlier threats from terrorist organisations to disrupt the race. In the event, all went smoothly, though security precautions were tight, as Austin Hunter reports.
A marvellous sight in the centre of Belfast. 2,700 athletes starting the 4th annual marathon to be held in the city. The 26-mile route wound its way all around Belfast. Terrorists have recently threatened visiting sportsmen and women, and today the security forces watched carefully all along the route. But the marathon proved a great success. A Belfast medical student came in first, breaking the local record. An athlete from the Irish Republic was second. And in third place, a runner from Swansea. For most people, an exciting day. For the 2-year-old son of the winner, it was all too much.
Well, 5 film stars went on their hands and knees in London today to mark British Film Year. They were helping to create the British equivalent of the Hollywood star pavement. Since 1927, 170 film stars have left their prints in wet cement on a pavement on Hollywood Boulevard.
The screen celebrities brought some showbiz razzmatazz to Leicester Square when they arrived to inaugurate London's star pavement. Veteran filmmaker Sir John Mills and Dame Anna Neagle made the first marks. Then Omar Sharif and Alan Bates. Charlton Heston, who's also left a print on Hollywood Boulevard, showed how far the famous will go to make an impression. So do the stars think their pavement is here to stay?
I think this is more likely to last longer than my films because cement is stronger than celluloid.
Well, that's it from us for the moment. I'll be back with the main news at 9 o'clock. Now here to put a very firm print on the weather is Michael Fish.
Yes, indeed. Well, I think we're going to have something of a switch round on the weather tomorrow. Eastern parts, where it was quite nice and bright today, will probably have the rain tomorrow. Still, spare a thought for those holiday making in the Mediterranean. They had even cooler and wetter weather than we, and it's this area of low pressure that's going to come our way and bring us some rain. As far as this evening is concerned, 1 or 2 showers around in the west at the moment, but they'll die away, and in many places a fairly misty sort of night. But later on in the night, in the extreme southeast, the first of that area of rain will begin to move in from the continent. A rather chilly night, I think, in a good many places, just here and there perhaps just a touch of ground frost. And then tomorrow, well, obviously the southeastern corner starting cloudy. There'll be that rain in the extreme southeast to begin with, and as the day goes on, that rain will creep slowly but surely into many other central and eastern parts of England, perhaps 1 or 2 heavier bursts of rain mixed in as well. Eastern Scotland, a rather grey, misty, sort of miserable day, some drizzle in the wind as well. But for western parts, for the most part, dry and quite bright. And it's in the west where you'll have the best temperatures around normal, whereas in these eastern areas, especially with a cool breeze, it will be on the cold side. That's it. I'll see you later.
Entertainment for Bank Holiday Monday on BBC1. At 5:20, Little Lord Fauntleroy, starring Ricky Schroeder and Alec Guinness.
I've seen to it the boy was suitably dressed.
But I'm wearing my best new knickers.
Hardly appropriate for Lord Fauntleroy.
At 7, Wogan. Then at 7:30, The World's Strongest Man, the ultimate test of strength and endurance from Mora in Sweden. At 8:30, 3 up, 2 down.
Well, no, it's madness. I mean, all my instincts tell me she's nothing but a snooty, vindictive old trout.
Your instincts are spot on, Dad.
Trouble is, my libido's got a will of its own.
And at 9:15, the main event, starring Ryan O'Neal and Barbara Streisand.
Hey, listen, kid, can I give you some advice?
What?
Well, this is very important, okay? Don't get hit so much. Try to remember to hit him more than he hits you.
At 11, Barry Manilow. Bank Holiday Monday on BBC1.
This is BBC1 North. Now the regional news of the day in Look North with John Thirlwell.
Good evening to you, and it's been a relatively quiet May Bank holiday almost everywhere. The busiest area seems to have been the Peak District, and the motoring organisations report no traffic problems anywhere. Well, at least so far. It's not been a quiet holiday, though, for a West Yorkshire family who've been involved in a rescue off the Norfolk coast. Michael and Rita Barclay and their 12-year-old son James from Baildon near Bradford had to be towed to safety by the Wells lifeboat when the engine of their converted fishing boat failed 10 miles offshore. The family were en route from Bridlington to Lowestoft. The Yorkshire executive of the NUM will be meeting tomorrow as miners from South Kirby near Barnsley call for an all-out strike in the area. The pit has been at a standstill for a week in a row over the sacking of 2 men. They were alleged to have intimidated working miners during the year-long strike. Most local delegates are said to be in support of the South Kirby men. Well, after the weekend's events at Wembley, you might have thought finding a happy crowd of supporters in Hull today was an impossible task. But there's more to that city than rugby league, of course, and at Boothbury Park, home of Hull City Football Club, they were holding a party to celebrate the side's promotion to Division 2. The Norfolk Grenadiers, a local band despite the name, got the party started, and then it was time for the boss of Hull City, Don Robinson, to crack open the bubbly and start pouring out good cheer for the people who make or break any club, the fans. Like any side, the Tigers have had their ups and downs this season, but the fans have stayed loyal throughout, just like one big happy family.
Well, they're all part of our team. Everybody here at Hull City is part of the whole team of what we've been trying to build for the last 3 years. This is fantastic turnout today, but they've been fantastic wherever they've come, supported us all over the country. We've got Supporters Club in Aberdeen, Supporters Club in London with 100 people in. We've got 4 people who come up from Ipswich who we're building down there. You know, there's terrific atmosphere, and all these people, they're all part of our team, and they're going to be here another 20 or 30 years, all of them, and that's how we're going to build Hull into the best soccer team in Britain.
Now listen, if you're having a party like this for going up into Division 2, what about Division 1? What's going to happen then?
Positive thinking. There's positive and negative thinking at Hull City. We're looking to Europe. We want to win the European Cup. Then we'll have a hell of a party.
After all that celebrating, it seems almost churlish to add that Hull City were actually playing this afternoon. They lost 2-0 against York City. Not that they were bothered, I should imagine. Now then, cricket, and there's only one match affecting our region this evening. It's in the Britannic Assurance Championship at Headingley. Now, the latest score we have is Middlesex 188 for 2 off 60 overs in reply to Yorkshire's 304 for 9 declared. Middlesex Paul Downton made 70. Well, from cricket to a sport that's almost as traditional, if not more so, according to the many hundreds of people who gathered at Rother Valley Country Park today for the National Rowing Regatta, organised by Sheffield Rowing Club. The sun shone, the wind blew, and everyone seemed to have a very good time. This was the third regatta hosted by the Sheffield Rowing Club, and it attracted a record number of entries. 98 teams from all over the country came to do battle over the 1,000-metre 6-lane course at Rother Valley, the only such course north of the Trent and south of Glasgow. Windy conditions made for a fairly choppy time of it out on the water, but speeds were going to be good for all that. In all, there were 31 races held today in just about every class, from senior eights to a race where a pair of 14-year-old girls competed in the junior sculling section. It may be some time before the Sheffield Regatta is as well known as a rowing event like Henley, but if the entries keep growing, it'll happen. And that's about it from Look North for the bank holiday. We hope you've had a very good holiday and you'll be ready and fit for work tomorrow morning. We all will be, I think. Look North is back at 6:35 tomorrow. Until then, goodbye.
And now the weather. Apart from an isolated shower, the evening and night will be mainly dry, with a temperature around 4 Celsius, 39 Fahrenheit. Tomorrow will be mainly cloudy, with rain spreading westwards across the region during the morning, and it'll be rather cold yet again.
Now on BBC1, Family Film Entertainment, with Alec Guinness and Ricky Schroeder, in Francis Hodgson Burnett's evergreen Victorian tale of Little Lord Fauntleroy.